Hello guys, welcome back for online session of JavaScript Day 4. I'm Sonal here from ThinkQuotient Software Private Limited. Today we're going to start with the concept of events. The actions to which JavaScript can respond are called as events. So the actions which we have embedded inside our web pages, these are nothing but the events to which our JavaScript can respond. The actions to which JavaScript can respond are called as an events. So there may be some submit events, there may be some scroll events, there may be some key down events, key up events. So these are some events listed in the JavaScript. So basically when you're going to scroll your page, that is nothing but your scroll event. Whenever you're going to submit a data or whenever you're going to submit a form, that is nothing but your submit event. So key down event, sometimes we see whenever we are going to scroll our mouse on some text, that text is going to be highlighted, right? So that is nothing but your mouse over event, right? So today we're going to start with the concept of event handlers, right? So event handlers is a JavaScript code that is associated with a particular part of the document and a particular event. So basically whenever we are going to create an event for the particular event, instead I would say for the particular event what action I want to perform. To define that, I have to write some event handlers, and that is nothing but it is a JavaScript code associated with a particular part of the document and a particular event, right? So handler is executed if and when the given event occurs at the part of the document to which it is associated. So when event is going to happen or event handler is going to be executed if your event is going to occur, right? So it may be the case that on the login button click you have written some let's say event that you want to show a text, that is nothing but let's take thank you for login or welcome you want to display. So that is nothing but your event, right? So I'll just open my notepad just to explain you the same thing with the code. Okay, so let's take, I have some login button. If I'm going to click on that login button, I want to call a function. Let's take, I'm going to call the function login itself, in which I want to display that welcome user. So I'm going to write over here inside this, I have to say document dot write, and I have to say over here welcome user, something like that. So whenever you want that your text should be displayed on some event, so in that case either you can call a function, in that function you can have some block of statement. Perfect, right? So I'll just move ahead and let's have the next thing, that is nothing but event binding. So the moment you have some event handler, but you should have some event bindings, right? So event bindings are element attributes such as on click, on change, which can be set equal to JavaScript, that is to be executed when the given event occurs, right? So whenever you have clear with the concept that you want to have this login button, and after that you want that this method should be executed, this method should be executed, but how's that thing going to get happen, right? So for that purpose we will be needing this event binding. So bindings are the element attributes such as on click, on change, which can be set equal to the JavaScript that is to be executed when the given event occurs. So let's have directly the syntax for the same. Suppose this is my button, so I'm going to include inside this button tag. So let's say this is a button tag. I'm going to say click me or login itself is a button, login, and I'm going to close the button. So this is it, right? So now I want to have this event binding, and event binding for the button we have got on click. On click is equals to, I'm going to specify over here either a function name. So I'm going to say I want to give a call this login function, or what you can do is I'm just simply going to copy the same button, or simply what you can do is you can give a code that you want to be executed over here. So I'm going to say I want to display some message, I want to have some alert box in which I'm going to say button clicked. So if the button is going to be get clicked, in that case I want to display a message that is nothing but let's take button is clicked, right? I hope you are clear with these things. Let's move into the code and let's have some practicals, right? So I'll just go into the Sublime, and over here I'm going to start with the code. So very first thing is I'm going to have this button. So I'm going to say this button itself, that's button inside this body tag, right? Button, and in that on that button I'm going to say log in, right? Login. Now on that button click, I want to give a call to a function that is nothing but let's take, I'm going to say function fun, and that function I want to have let's take an alert message, so alert, and I want to display that button is clicked, right? So I'm going to give a call to this my login button on click, and in that I'm going to say fun function call, right? Just save the file, and simply I'm going to say right click and open in browser, and you can see some login button being displayed over here. If I click on the button, and you can see some button click message is being displayed. Perfect, right? So we'll see some more about this events. So let's go back over here. Now next thing is DOM event model, right? Now the DOM2 event model specification describes the standard way to create, capture, handle and cancelling of events. So when to capture, when, how to handle, and how the cancel event occurs, that all described in the DOM2 event model specifications, right? So there are some phases of this event model. So first is your capturing phase, second is your target phase, and third is your bubbling phase, right? So what is this capturing, what is this bubbling, we'll have a look. But before that we have to discuss one method that is nothing but add event listener, right? So this add event listener method is going to accept three arguments, right? So this add event listener method is going to accept three arguments, that is nothing but the event and the handler you want to have and the capture phase, right? So this capture phase is going to have arguments in the boolean format. So this could be your true and this could be your false. Definitely we'll talk about it, but before that, this method is introduced by DOM2, used to engage an event handler in a page, right? So we have that method that is nothing but object dot add event listener, and that we have to pass event handler and capture phase, this object, right? So we have to define an object itself. So the node to which the listener is to be bounded, the event, this event, if you say this event is nothing but indicating a type of event, which type of event occurred, right? So it may be on click, on change, on mouse hover, right? And the handler is nothing but that has to be called when the event occurs, right? The handlers and the events you're okay with. Now this capture phase, so basically your capture phase is going to hold some boolean values. If you are going to specify false over here, that means your bubbling phase will be captured, and if you are going to say true over here, your capturing phase will be captured. Now what is this bubbling? Bubbling is nothing but the concept same as that of a bubble in the water, right? So bubble, when you see that bubble goes from the bottom to top, and capturing is nothing but when you capture a photo, that means your capturing starts from your camera till the destination, right? So bubbling, that means flow of execution from bottom to top, and capturing is nothing but the flow from your top to bottom, right? So when you want to have event captured when it is in the bubbling phase, you have to specify false, and when you want that your event should captured in the capturing phase, in that case it should have value true. Now let's have the example for the same. I'll just go over here and I'll create some new file, and I'm going to save the file as well. So I'm going to say event listener.html, right? So I'm going to get the boilerplate code first, and I'm going to include the script tag as well, right? So simply what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the button through which I'm going to call some event. So I have this button over here, and in that button I want to have login button. On the click of that login button, I want to give a call to something. So to have the identification of my button, I'm going to say id is equals to spe, right? In the script tag, I'm going to say where btn, right, the button is equals to document dot get element by id, and in that I'm going to specify spe, right? After this, on this object, so on the button, I want to call this add event listener, and now I have to specify this event. So event is going to be your click, right? Your event is click event. The function that you want to execute, or the handler that you want to execute, is nothing but this function. I want to execute this function, and this function is going to tell me this alert, right? So I'm going to say alert, and this alert I'm going to specify that button clicked. Now let me save the file. Simply right click, say open in browser, and you can see, suppose I'm going to click on this login button and refresh the page once again. Click on this login button. Now it is working fine, right? So it is being displayed as button clicked. Perfect. Now I'll just say okay. Now let's have a look on the next thing again. That is nothing but some event called as a focus event, right? So I'll just go back into the code. I'll just create new file over here. Say Control S. I'm going to say focus event .html. Get the boilerplate code and the script tag as well, right? In which I'm going to have some input text box. So input type, I'm going to say some text, and in that text box I'm going to give some id. So id is equals to, I'm going to say 1, right? And inside the script tag, I'm going to say where some text I have got, in which I'm going to get this simply document dot get element by id, and I'm going to specify this one over here, right? And now I'm going to define some function in which I'm going to have this function call on this function. Suppose I'm going to say fun, in which I'm going to pass this event object. So whenever you are going to get an event, or whenever you're going to have some event, in that case background we have this event object. So this event object is the one who is holding the all the information about your event, right? So I'm going to say over here txt dot, I want to apply some styling on. In that styling I want to have this background. I want to apply some background color, so I'm going to say color over here. So whenever you're dealing with JavaScript, you don't have to give hyphens, you don't have to give space in between. You can simply go on writing the code, and you can have this camel case syntax, right? So I'm going to specify over here yellow. So whenever I'm going to focus inside this text box, I want in the background the yellow color. So I'm going to close this function, and I'm going to have now this txt dot add event. So I'm going to say add event listener. So I'm going to say listener, and this I have to specify this focus event. So whenever I'm going to get this focus event, and in that case I want to give a call to this fun method, right? So just save the file, and I'm going to say right click. So basically you can have the function written outside the scope as well, right? Add event listener. It's not necessary to have written function inside the add event listener. You can simply call the functions as well, right? So you can see if I'll just refresh the page, and the moment I'm going to focus inside this text box, yes, you can see I can able to type it. The moment you're going to start writing inside it, you will be having this background color applied as yellow. I hope you're clear with this. Now let's have the next thing, that is nothing but I would say the mouse over. So I'm going to have this one more file, or okay, I'll just write over here itself. So I'm going to include h1. I'm going to say mouse hover event. So I'll say mouse hover event, mouse. Okay, I'll just keep it as it is. And I'm going to say h1 close. I'm going to give the id as well. So id is equals to m, and I'm going to have some code for m. So simply I'm going to say where m mouse or m say mou is equals to, I'm going to say document dot get element by id, in which I'm going to specify this m, right? And after that I'm going to say mou dot add event listener, in which I'm going to specify if mouse over event is going to happen, in that case I want to have this function call. So instead of writing this function keyword, I'm going to have this fat arrow function itself. So I'm going to call this function, in which I'm going to say, okay, for now we'll say event occur. Okay, so for that purpose I have to say document dot write, and in that I'm going to specify this event occurred, right? Let me save the file and go back to the browser. Or instead what we'll do is we'll try to call a function on the mouse over event. So instead of this add event listener, we'll try to add something else. So what I'm going to do is itself, instead of id I'm going to say on mouse over. So here we are going to get intelligence of your events. Okay, I'll just show you one more time. I'll say on. So you can see on click, on close, on change, on can play, on cancel, on blur. So these are the events listed over here. See, on focus, on input, right? So simply I'm going to say on mouse, and you can see some mouse related events being listed over here, right? So I'm going to use this on mouse over event, in which I'm going to give a call some to the function. I'm going to say the call my fun function, right? And I have to define this my fun function as well, right? So I'm going to say function, and in that I'm going to say my fun, and to which I will be having some block of statement. In that I'm going to specify, let's take an alert handle, right? So I'm going to say mouse event occurred, right? I'll just save the file over here and head back to the browser. Now I'm going to refresh the page, and now if I scroll on, yes, it is occurring, right? So you can see if I scroll over here, you can see mouse event occurred. The moment I'm going to say okay, you can see some mouse event occurred, mouse event occurred, right? So it's working fine. So these are the few mouse related events we have got. So this is the how you can have your events, or the handlers you can have, right? Let me move ahead, and the next thing is the classes in your ES6, right? So class concept is being introduced in your JavaScript ES6 version, because the after learning the Java and after learning this the concept, core Java concept, the developers are very confused with the syntax of your JavaScript, because Java and JavaScript is totally different. To have the compatibility between this, or to make the Java developers comfortable in the JavaScript, they have introduced the class concept in the ES6, right? So the syntax is over here. So you have to write class keyword, your class name, the constructor method. You have to have some properties, and you have to if you have some methods, you can declare over here, right? The JS classes introduced in ECMAScript 2015, or it is also known as ES6. The classes are in fact a special function itself, because we have scenes, right? So what is the use of this class is to create an instance, or we can say the create objects. So the same thing we have seen some way of creating object, that is the literal way, object constructor, the function way, right? Function constructor. Even if we don't have this class concept, we can create this object, uh, these objects, right? So for this we don't need this class keyword or class concept. But let's have a look on this class because this is the new feature introduced in ES6. So there are two ways to define classes in JavaScript. Either you can go with the JavaScript, or you can say class declaration and the class expression. So this is how the syntax we have. Now instead of wasting time in the discussion, I'll just go back into the code and let's start having this class concept, right? So I'll just go into the code. I'll create new file over here. I'm going to save the file, and to have your class concept, I'm going to say class demo.html, and over here I have to get this HTML boilerplate code. I'm going to include this script tag as well. So simply I'm going to start writing my class using this class keyword. That's it. That's how we have to start, right? So now I have to give my class name. So I'm going to give a class name as student, and I'm going to say this curly braces, right? So I have to write over here constructor method. So what is this constructor method is all about? Definitely we'll talk. This constructor method is nothing but your method in which it is a method, a special method for creating and initializing an object created within a class, right? So there can be only one special method with the name constructor in the class. Fine. So this constructor method is going to have some properties, and those properties are nothing but the instance member, right? So I'm going to say over here this dot, let's take trainer. So you have to have this keyword because this keyword is the one who is going to point your instance or current instance, right? So I'm going to say this dot trainer is equals to, I'm going to say, let's take Deepa over here, right? Now let's say if you have some method, so if you have some method, so I have some, let's take show method. In the show method I'm going to specify I want to return, and this return is going to have this let's say I'm going to have some text. My trainer is, you can say my trainer is, let's take plus, and you have to say the trainer name. So the trainer name inside this dot trainer, right? And let me save the file. Now I have to create the instance. To create an instance, simply I have to say where stud 1, and I'm going to say is equals to new student. So we know that no keyword is the one through which we can create the object. Let me save the file, and what I'm going to do is let me execute the same. So I'm going to say open in browser. I'll just go into the control shift I, the console tab, and over here I'm going to have my stud1 object that is printed, and you can see the student object, the stud1 object is being printed. That is nothing but your trainer Deepa. What if I want to have few more objects? So simply say control C and control V. I'm going to give a name stud2, save the file, head back to the browser and refresh the page. You can see I have this stud1, you can see I have this stud2 as well, right? So I'm able to create two objects. So the way you have created the objects using your normal function method or functional constructor, that the same way you can do in this your class way, right? Now the constructor method called automatically. Your constructor is being called automatically when a class is initiated. It has to have the exact name as constructor. If you do not have a constructor method, JavaScript will add on individual and empty constructor method. So JavaScript is by default is going to add your constructor, which is going to be invisible, and the empty as well, right? A class cannot have more than one constructor method. To create a class inheritance, now we are okay with the constructor methods, right? So to create a class inheritance, you have to use this extends keyword, right? So what is this class extends? We will see a class related with a class inheritance. It inherits all the methods from the another class, or we can say a parent class as well, right? So for the same I will be creating a new file over here. I hope you're okay with the class syntax now. Now I'm going to say over here this file is going to be emp.html, right? And I'm going to have this boilerplate code first, in which I'm going to include the script tag as well, right? And I'm going to create this class first. So I'm going to say I have some I have some class, and the class name is nothing but emp, in which I'm going to have this constructor very first, and that constructor is going to be a parameterized constructor. So basically I'm going to say this dot salary is equals to, now I'm going to create the dynamic objects, right? So basically in the first class demo we were having only one trainer, right? So now I want to have some dynamic trainers. In that case, suppose I'm not going to hard code this value, I'm going to have this as, let's take t, and this t is going to be received from this place, and I'm going to pass the value. Suppose the student 1 trainer is, let's take Deepa itself, and the student 2 trainer is, let's take Sunal. I'll just save the file and let me check over here, just say refresh over here, and I'm going to say stud 1. Now you can see some Deepa, and you can see some stud 2, and you can see some trainer is Sonal. So you can see some, you can have your dynamic values as well. So the same concept I'm going to apply over here. I will be receiving sal while someone is creating an object itself. So that is nothing but sal over here, and this is it. And I'm going to next method. So I want to have some methods as well. So I'm going to say detail, and that detail method uh, going to have, let's take this method is going to have some return statement. This method is going to return me, and I'm going to say I have plus, I'm going to say this dot salary. So this much salary, or you can say I want to add some plus in rupees symbol as well, right? Or rupees text. So this is my first class, and I'm going to say I have one more class, that is nothing but, let's say, class employee itself. So first we had class emp class, and second we have this class employee class, right? And in that I'm going to very first have the constructor method, because default we have to add one method, that is nothing but constructor. Now what I want, this class should extend this emp class. So to extend the class, you have to simply write a keyword extends, and you have to call a class name that you want to be extended. Now extends, it is used to create a child class. Now this is going to be my child class of another class, or you can say child class inherits all the properties of your parent class, right? So this constructor method, this detail method, whatever methods you want to access, that you can access through your child class. That's why you have to say extends keyword, in which I'm going to say constructor, as I'm extending this parent class as well. So I have to say this sal I'm going to pass, and I'm going to say then this name I'm going to pass, right? So inside the constructor, I have to give a call to the super methods. Now what is the super method is? So I have to say super, and now I have to pass this sal. So your super method, if you talk about your super method, is the one, it is refers the parent class. By calling the super method in the constructor method, we call the parents constructor method and gets access to the parents properties and method, right? So the super is the one who is going to call your constructor of the your parent, right? So constructor method of your parent class. So simply you have to call this super, and the constructor, see, you can see the parent class constructor is accepting sal, and you are going to pass sal from this place, right? Now in this base class or child class, I can say, you can see this dot name is equals to name I'm going to receive, right? Now I'm going to say I have got this show method as well, right? This show method is going to return me I am, let's take I am, and for the same I'm going to have the name. So this dot name, and after that I'm going to call the method of my parent. So I have something salary that I want to display, and I'm going to say some text, say I have, and after that, okay, I don't have to write I have because already I have written. So simply I have to say this dot details, because if you're going to say extend, you can call your parents method from your child class as well, right? So this detail is a method. Let's save the file. Now the turn is to create an object. So simply I'm going to say var obj, just scroll up, where obj is equals to, I'm simply going to say new employee, right? And this new employee constructor is going to have your 25,000 salary, and you have to pass the name. So I'm going to pass over here, let's take Vivek. Now I'm going to say document dot write, and in which I'm going to say obj, this object dot show method I want to call. Just save the file, and I'm going to say right click over here and open in browser, and now you can see I am Vivek, I have 25,000 rupees, right? Perfect, right? Now let's have a look on the same thing again. So what we did basically is we have created some class first. So that class is nothing but emp class, my base class you can say, and that I have built in some constructor, and that constructor is going to have one parameter, right? So that parameter is nothing but your sal. So I have got this property as in my class property, right? So this dot salary is going to be current coming salary, right? Whatever parameters I'm going to receive, that value I'm going to assign inside this class property. So I have this detail method over here, and that detail method I have written, I have this dot salary rupees, right? So you can see some salary is being displayed. Now after that I have again created some class, that is nothing but class employee, and that class employee is going to extend my base class, right? So that is nothing but your parent class. Now employee is my child class, in which I have to pass my parent class constructor values with my child class constructor values as well. So arguments I have to pass for the both. So I'm going to accept some salary over here, some name over here, right? So now this salary has to be passed to my parent class constructor method. So I have written some super over here. So super method is going to give a call to your base class constructor, and that base class constructor whatever it is having, right? Some properties, class properties, it is going to pass some values. So you can see some super and salary values being passed, and after that my own class properties, that is nothing but this dot name is equals to name is being assigned, right? So I have this show method assigned in employee class. This show method is going to return me I am the name of the person, and after that this dot detail method of my parent class is being called. So simply you have to use this, the current instance itself, right? So I'm going to create an object in which I have passed this 25,000 and the name as Vivek, and I have called this obj.show method, right? So simply again I'm going to create one new object where obj1 and is equals to, I'm going to say new employee, and in that I'm going to say let's take 30,000, and I'm going to call the name as, let's take Satvik over here, and I'm going to say document dot write, and in that I'm going to say I want to give a call to obj1 dot the show method. So let's save the file, head back to the browser and refresh the page, and you can see some I am Vivek, I have 25,000 rupees. I am Satvik ki, it's Satvik ki, okay, Satvik, I have 30,000 rupees, right? So it is working fine. So I'm going to add a line break over here. Perfect, right? This is what our expected things are. Now let's have a look on the next thing, that is nothing but your dialog boxes, right? So we have already seen this dialog boxes, few of the dialog boxes, that is nothing but prompt and alert. So just we are left with the confirm dialog box. Let's have a look on the same. So I'll just go back into the code over here, create the new file. I'm going to say control S. I'm going to save the file with confirm.html, right? So save the file. I'm going to get this boilerplate code. I'm going to include this script tag as well, right? So in this script tag, what I'm going to do is very first I'm going to create my confirm dialog box. So basically, let me have the concept of your confirm box. Basically, this confirm box is going to return you either true or false, depending on the selection of the user, right? So let me have very first this confirm box. So I'm going to say confirm, right? And this confirm I'm going to specify, are you, I have to include this double quote or single quote, are you sure right? I'll just save the file and simply I'm going to execute it. So I'm going to save, right click and open in browser, right? So you can see, are you sure? We haven't applied any logic for the same, but we can see some confirm box is being displayed. So what options you can have is either okay, and either you can say cancel. So you can say cancel. If I refresh again, either you can say click on okay, right? So basically we haven't applied any logic for the same, but we have created the confirm box. So over here if you check, so you can simply have, and you can say this where response. So whatever response this confirm box is going, it may be either your yes, or that means you want, you are you sure, yes, or it may be either you're not sure, that means no, right? Any of it. So I'm going to say over here depending on some the condition. So let's take, I'm going to say if, and I'm going to say if the response is true, right? If it is going to be true, then I want to have document. So I'm going to say document dot write, and I'm going to say over here, uh, let's take thank you for, thank you for, let's take using, thank you for using this app. And in the else part, what I'm going to write is again this document dot write, in which I'm going to specify visit again, right? And let me save the file and let me head back to the browser and refresh the page, and you can see, are you sure? So if I'm going to say okay, that means true, so I'm going to say thank you for using it. And if I refresh the page once again, and if I say cancel, that means I don't want to have this, so you can see visit again. So depending on your true and false value, so let me have a different messages, so it is not giving appropriate. So are you sure you want to live? So are you sure you want to live? That if I say okay, that means true. So I'll say thank you for using, okay, instead I would say visit again, and instead of visit again I'm going to say your session is continued, your session is continued. So let's save the file, head back to the browser and refresh the page. Now I'm going to say, are you sure you want to live? I'm going to say okay, I'm sure. So I'm getting this message as visit again. I'll just refresh the page once again, and now you can see, are you sure you want to live? I'm going to say cancel, I don't want to live. So you can see your session is continued, right? So this is what our expected things are. So I hope you remember this prompt box, because this prompt box is nothing but just ask user to enter something, or whenever you want to have some information from the user side, then then you should have this uh, prompt box, right? So this alert box, when you want that user, unless and until the user says okay, the page should not have the other functioning. So when you want that user should have look on that particular alert box, in that case you have to go with the alert boxes, right? And this is how we have three dialog boxes: alert box, prompt box, and the confirm box, right? The confirm box is nothing but get a confirmation from your user. Perfect, right? Let me move ahead, and yes, now we have got this local session and local storage and session storage. Let's have a look on this local storage first. The local storage is read only property of your window object, right? I hope you remember this window object. We have already seen this window object. It stores data in a web browser specifically to the domain and protocol. It doesn't get sent to the server, as it is stored locally in the web browser, right? With no expiration date. The data will be deleted when the browser is closed and reopened, right? The data won't be deleted when the browser is closed and open. The syntax for the same, if I say, I'll just open this notepad. The syntax for the same, to create the local storage, so simply you have to say window dot your local storage, right? So this is the syntax of your local storage. So basically what this local storage is, your data is going to be permanent. Your data is not going to get disappeared. It is not going to get deleted. Whenever you are going to close the browser, reopen it, still your data will be present in the local storage, right? So there are few methods we have got for this local storage and the session storage. Okay, now let's have a look on this session storage first. So after that we'll discuss this method, because these methods are common in both local and session, right? In the session storage, if you talk about, the session storage is read only property of your window object, and it stores data in a web browser specifically to the domain and the protocol for the particular session. So mark my words, this is also going to store the data, but for the particular session only. In the local storage, the data is for the last, for your browser itself, right? And it is going to be there for your, or we can say with no expiry date. So the difference is it is going to be there itself in the local storage. If you talk about session storage, your data will be stored for the particular session. That means your data in the session storage is going to be your temporary data. It doesn't get sent to the server. Data stored in session storage gets cleared when the page session ends. The moment you're going to close the browser, you're going to lose your all the data in the session storage, right? The page session lasts for the as long as the browser is open, and services over your page reloads and restores, right? So basically whenever you're connected to your browser itself, then for the particular session, the particular time, you're going to have that data. After that you're going to lose your data itself. Now let's have a look on your some few methods. That is nothing but your set item method. This method is going to accept key and value pair, right? So it allows to add a key value pair to the storage object. If the key already exists, the name value will exist with the name, the value will override the old value. So basically if I have already the name value itself, so let's take name, let's take Vivek, I have already written over there. So again if I'm going to say name, it's let's take Satvik. In that case, the old value, that is nothing but Vivek, will be override with the new value, that is nothing but Satvik, right? The second method we have got this get item, in which you have to specify only key. This it returns the value of the item that is set with given key, right? So it is giving going to give you the value of the item which is going to pass as a key, right? So remove item, one more method is over there which is going to accept key. It removes the item in the local or your storage object with the given key. So it is going to remove your item as well, right? So there are few methods as well, so we'll see practically each one of them. Let me go back into the Visual Studio Code first. I'll just go over here. I'll create new file. I'm going to save the file as well. I'm going to say storage.html, and going to get the boilerplate code first, and going to receive the script tag, right? And now I'm going to have this script tag. Inside that, simply I'm going to say create the local storage, and that I want to have this set item. But before that, let me go back to the browser, and now I'll show you where we have this local storage or session storage. Simply going to say Control Shift I over here, and over here inside this applications tab, if you see, you can see some local storage and session storage is being displayed, right? So if I check the local storage, if I open it, now you can see some ID is being displayed, because in the previously I have this ID is being written over here, right? So that's why it is lasted in the same. So I'll just clear it. So you can see some key and value is being displayed. I If I open this session storage, you can see some key and value, same tab or same UI is being displayed. So basically these two station storage and local storage are same, but the thing is inside this local storage you will be having your data present in the same, right? So you won't have the data lost, you won't have this data that has to be deleted by the user, the way I have cleared it, right? So I have said clear all, that's why it is went away. Now what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to create this item over here. So I'm going to say window dot local storage, you have to write, right? Window dot local storage, and in that I'm going to say set item. I want to say set item, and I'm going to say this item is username, right? And username is nothing but, let's take, I'm going to say Vivek, right? Just save the file and simply I'm going to say right click and open in browser. Now you can say Control Shift I, open this application window, and you can see some username and some value is being displayed, right? So this is the way how you can open your local storage. Now what I'm going to do is simply going to close the browser, right? So no Chrome is being open, or no, it is not, it is running in the background. Simply say right click, say open in browser, and now you can see, say Control Shift I over here, and I'm going to check for this application. Now you can see the username Vivek still last on my the tab, right? Or you can say in the storage, right? So what I'm going to do is simply going to change, or say Control C, Control V over here. Instead of local, I'm going to place this as session, right? Save the file, head back to the browser and refresh the page once. And now if you go and check inside this session, this file, you can see some username Vivek is being displayed, but instead of that I'll just say user, okay, I'll give username, and I'm going to change this Vivek to, let's take Savi. Save the file, head back to the browser and refresh the page. Okay, now you can see in the session storage Savi is being displayed, and this local storage you can see some name Vivek is being displayed. Now I'm going to close the browser, right? I'm simply going to say open in browser again, and you can open this application tab using this Control Shift I, and you can see inside this local storage we have user is being displayed. Inside this session storage, username Savi is being displayed, right? Now let's have a next method. I'll just go back into the code. Now I'm going to have over here, that means local storage dot remove item or get item. Before that I'll say console.log, console.log, and that I'm going to say local storage dot get item. So in which you have to specify the username as key. Just save the file, head back to the browser and refresh the page once. And if I go into the console tab, you can see some name is being displayed, right? Vivek. So if I go over here and if I say session, and if I refresh the page once again, now you can see some Savi name is being displayed, right? That is, I hope it is all fine. Now let me have this local storage dot remove item. So simply I'm going to have this local storage dot remove item over here, in which, okay, remove item, in which I'm going to specify my your username, or you can say the key. So I'm going to say username itself, username. Just save the file, and if I go over here, save the file, and if I go over here and refresh the page once, now what I'm going to do is inside this application tab, if I go inside this local storage, now you can see my console, or you can say the storage is being cleared, right? So these are the few methods that are related to your local storages. I'm going to comment this, save the file, head back to the browser and refresh the page once. You can see some username Vivek is being added. For the same, I'm going to have this I'll say Control C from this place, and I'm going to say Control V, Control V. Now I'm going to say username instead user email, and for the same I'm going to add user password as well. Okay, and email is going to be vivek@gmail.com. I'm going to add the password vivek@55. Let's save the file, head back to the browser, and you can see some, if I refresh the page, you can see some vivek@55 password is being displayed. User email is went wrong, so I will say Control S, and you can see some text is being added under your local storage, right? Now what I'm going to do is simply I'm going to clear all the storage, local storage, right? So I'm going to say simple local storage dot clear method, right? So clear is a method which is through which you can clear out whole storage. So simply save the file and head back to the browser. Now you can see all the keys or key and value pair are being removed. Perfect, right? Now let's go back into this and we have clear with this, right? So I'll just have a look on the next thing, that is nothing but your object destructuring, right? So the next thing, that is nothing but object destructuring. So let's have a look on this destructuring. What is the meaning of destructuring? Destructuring is a convenient way of extracting multiple values from data stored in objects and arrays. So it can be used in location that receive data. Destructuring objects let you bind variables to different properties of an object. You need to specify the property being bounded, followed by the variable you are binding its value to. Okay, so this is all about the theoretical part, and let me explain the same concept using this practical thing. So I'll just go back into the code. I'll say control N, going to save the file with obj destructuring. Okay, .html I'm going to save, and now I'm going to get this boilerplate code and with the script tag as well. So simply whatever I have explained, that is destructuring is a convenient way of extracting multiple values from data stored in objects. So what I'm going to do is simply going to create an object first. So I'm going to say var stored is equals to, I'm going to say name as, let's say Amol over here, and the name I'm going to specify it, and the marks I'm going to say 100, and let's take trainer over here. So trainer I'm going to add over here, let's take soon, right? So this is how I have created the object, and now I want to read this object. So what I have to do is either I have to say document dot write, and I have to say this tour dot name. Just save the file and right click and open in browser. Now if you see, this is the name is being displayed, right? So if I go over here, I'll just copy the same thing, I'll paste it over here, and if I say instead of marks I want to display, instead of name I want to display now a marks, and if I say refresh the page once, and you can see some 100 is being displayed, right? So what I have to do is I have to say stud.name stud.marks if I want to use in my all the objects, right? Instead of me writing all the code stud.name stud.marks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this destructuring concept in this object destructuring, right, in this JavaScript. So what I'll do is simply I'll just go over here and I'm going to say this var, I have to have this object structured over here, right? So object, I'm going to say over here for the name I will be using N, for the marks I will be using M, for the trend I will be using this T. Now I'm going to say over here my object name is stud, that's it. Now if I go over here and I'll just remove this document.write statement, or instead I'll say control Z and comment it. So I'm going to say document.write, instead of stud.name simply N, I'm going to add this br tag, right? And for the marks simply I'm going to have this marks. Save the file, head back to the browser and refresh the page. So now what is this undefined means? So whenever you are going to have this object destructuring, it is okay to have the names, but that means you have to use the same name as that of your properties, right? So I'm going to say marks over here and the trainer over here, right? So what we made a mistake while having this destructuring, you cannot have this uh, shortcut names, you have to use the full name as that of your properties. And now I'm going to add over your name and over here as marks, right? So let me save the file, head back to the browser. Now I have to receive instead of undefined some values, right? This is it, Amod, and some values being displayed, right? Now what if I want to have this trainer as well? I'll simply go over here, I'll say control C control V over here, and I'm going to have this trainer. So I'm going to say trainer, and I'm going to add this line break as well. Save the file and you can see the trainer name is being displayed, right? Okay, I hope you all guys are clear with this object destructuring. So basically you should have the key name as the same, right? So what it is giving us a facility that you don't have to say stud.name stud.marks. So simply you can say name and marks, as trainer, right? So I hope you're clear with all the things. Now let me move ahead and let's have the look on the next thing, that is nothing but your spread operators. Now let's have the look on the spread operators. The spread syntax allows an iterable such as an array expression or string to be expanded in places where zero or more elements are expected, or an object expression to be expanded in places where zero or more key value pairs are expected. So what is basically this definition says is, so whenever you want to have the spread operator concept, in that case you have to expand your objects, or you can say expand your value. So in that case you have to use this spread operators. So I'll just go back over here into the code and I'll say control N from this place, save the file. I'm going to say spread operator.html. Now in this file I'll just say the boilerplate code first, the script tag as well, right? So simply what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a call to this my function method. So basically I have to define this my function. So I'm going to say my fun, in which I'm going to pass some arguments, and those are nothing but, let's take A, B and C, right? So in this I'm going to say simple document.write or console.log, whatever you want. So I'm going to say console.log, I'm going to say A, and the console.log B I want to display, and console.log C I want to display, right? So this is the way, this is the function, my fun function, in which I'm going to accept three arguments. These three arguments I have to display. So I'm using this console.log statement, and now I'm going to give a call to this my fun function. So simply I'm going to say my fun, in which I'm going to pass an array, right? So simply I'm going to define array over here. So where arr is equals to, I have an array in which I have 33, 44 and 55 as values. So A, B, C values I have, and I'm going to pass this ARR as it is, right? Now let me save the file. Say simply right click and say open in browser, and now you can see on the in the console tab some error is being displayed, that is nothing but the missing parenthesis. Okay, as you can see we have got error, but that doesn't, we have some errors in the line number 10. Okay, just save the file, head back to the browser and refresh the page. Now you can see the value for A is nothing but array is being displayed, the line number 9, right? So the line number 9 is nothing but your A. So your A is having 33, 44 and 55, but that is itself going to be array, and your B value is undefined and your C value is also undefined, right? So this is not our expected thing, is that this has to be your A value should be 33, your B value should be 44 and your 55 should be your C value, right? So you have to open your array, so you have to spread your array. The spread syntax is nothing but your allows an iterable such as an array expression or string to be expanded, right? So you want to expand it. So how you are going to have this spread operator concept? Simply adding these dots before your arrays. Just save the file, head back to the browser, and if I refresh the page, now you can see is A is nothing but 33, B is 44 and C is 55. So this is what our expected thing is. So basically when you want to expand your array, expand your object, in that case you have to open it up, right? So simply I want to open the array, so dot 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 arr is being written. So this is what about your spread operators. So sometimes we can compare it with the rest operator, but the rest operator syntax is also same, spread operator syntax is also same, but these are the two different concepts, right? So let me have one more example for the same. Suppose I have this var, let's take this var s or x, I'm going to say, where this x is going to be 1, 2 and 3, right? Now I have this var y is equals to this, it's going to be equals to x, right? And let me say console dot log, and I'm going to say I want to print x, control C, I'm going to say console dot log y. So simply I'm going to comment out all these things. save the file and simply go back over here, refresh the page. You can see in my X I have got this 123, in the Y I have got this 123, right? So simply what I'm going to do is I'm going to say X dot push. I want to have this pushing of values. I'm going to say 33 for 33 itself, right? So I'll say 33 first. So I'll save the file, and after that I'm going to say console.log for this X uh, array. So let's refresh the page. Now you can see 123 was initial value of X, 123 is the initial value of Y, and 123 33 is the updated value of your array X. Now let me check my array Y as well. So Control S and refresh the page, and you can see in the Y array itself your 33 value is being reflected. So this is not our expected thing, right? So in the JavaScript, if you're not going to use this new keyword, or you're not going to create the new object, so it is going to point the same reference, right? As we have made some change in the X array, the same changes are being reflected in the Y array. So restrict this. I don't want to have the same changes being reflected in X and Y. So what is the use of making this Y array, right? So I want to have the initial value in the Y array, and I want to have this updated value in the X array, right? So for the same, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this array spread operator. So I'm going to say dot 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 over here. Simply save the file, head back to the browser and refresh the page. Now you can see your X initial value is 123, Y initial value is 123. Your X having some value as 123 and 33, but still your Y is having 123 elements in your array, right? I hope you're clear with the concept, because this concept is more useful in the further use, right? So let's finish this session over here, right? Let's see you in the next session. Thank you.